Good afternoon. A man in his 50s has died after a tree fell onto a caravan during Storm Gerretti in Cornwall. Meanwhile, National Grid say staff are working to restore power to around 27,000 properties following the storm, most in the southwest and across the Midlands. And this weekend, weather alerts remain in place for snow and ice for much of the UK. Well, Rachel Younger joins me now. Rachel, there's quite a lot here to unpack, isn't there?
There is, yes, and while it was thought that despite the widespread damage Storm Gerretti had caused, particularly down in the southwest, it hadn't claimed anyone's lives, on Thursday, Devon and Cornwall police got a call saying that a tree had fallen down on top of a caravan. When they were able to safely remove that tree yesterday, tragically, they found a man in his 50s had died inside it. They tell us there were no suspicious circumstances, and they have managed to inform his family, but the strength of the wind was so much that it was able to pick up and turn over lorries, the highest recorded gusts at 99 miles an hour in the Isles of Scilly. And although the weather conditions are now much calmer, the disruption goes on for some. So in the southwest, we understand just under 25,000 properties are still without power. In the Midlands, another 3,000 or so. Although better news in Wales, where we understand that all properties have now had power restored. But the yellow warnings for snow and ice remain in place in some parts of the country, as you can see there. That's often where partially thawed snow is refreezing. Those warnings are due to stay in place for another 24 hours. That's expected to cause some disruption still on roads and railways, with the Met Office telling me that they've increased one warning to amber, so that's one step above yellow, in the last hour or so.
We will start to see that rain turn to snow, particularly again across Scotland. We do have an amber warning in force across some parts of Scotland there for the risk of some further heavy snow. But as the milder air does try to filter in from the west, it will gradually transition back to rain, especially at lower levels.
And it's not all bad news. Temperatures are due to get an awful lot milder in the week ahead for most of us.
OK, Rachel, thank you very much. Hundreds of thousands took to the streets in Iran again last night, despite government warnings. Tehran's top prosecutor said demonstrators could face the death penalty after 2 weeks of unrest sparked by soaring inflation. The exiled son of Iran's former monarch, the Shah, has called for a national strike, more protests and ultimately a counter-revolution.
I ask all of you to come to the streets today and tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, with flags, national images and symbols, and take over public spaces. Our goal is no longer just to come to the streets. The goal is to be prepared to seize and hold the city centres.
President Trump has issued another stark warning to Greenland, saying the US will intervene either the nice way or the more difficult way. The US president said America needs to own the Danish territory to stop Russia or China from taking it. Vincent McAviney reports.
We're dealing with the country, so we're empowered to make that deal.
A week on from his intervention in Venezuela, Donald Trump held a meeting at the White House with oil company executives to discuss how they could exploit the country's petro-resources. Not content with seemingly running the South American nation, Trump reiterated his warnings to Denmark over Greenland.
The fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland, and that's what they're going to do if we don't. So we're going to be doing something with Greenland, either the nice way or the more difficult way.
Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, which has repeatedly stated that the territory is not for sale, and that any use of military force to acquire it would effectively end the NATO alliance.
They refuse to say that it's off the table. So we can't rule it out. When the Americans are not ruling it out, we can't rule it out either. But we don't think it's the most likely scenario because it's just simply too stupid. It would be such a disaster.
In a joint statement on Friday night, all 5 of the territory's political party leaders reiterated their stance that Greenlanders don't want to be Americans.
I hate him with my whole being. I don't want him to buy Greenland. Greenland is not for sale.
Any number in the world, and we'll know. And we'll say no. It belongs to us and only us only.
While some believe Trump's renewed interest is a distraction technique as his economy struggles ahead of midterm elections, Danes and Greenlanders are taking the threat more seriously than ever, given his willingness to flex American muscle around the world. Vincent McAviney, ITV News.
In other news, the government has allocated £200 million to prepare for the deployment of British troops to Ukraine. The money will be spent on new equipment and counter-drone protection for British and French forces expected to be deployed following a peace deal with Russia. It's understood the Home Secretary plans to remove government support from some asylum seekers in a bid to close more migrant hotels more quickly. Government sources say it will affect thousands of people with evictions beginning in the spring. And testing has revealed rivers in Corby are polluted with metals that could pose a risk to aquatic life. In 2009, a High Court judge ruled that Corby Borough Council were negligent in moving toxic waste. Finally, on FA Cup weekend, Wrexham's Hollywood story has another new chapter. The club, owned by actors Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack, knocked out Premier League Nottingham Forest in a dramatic match. Reynolds was in ecstasy as Wrexham twice led by 2 goals, only for Forest to hit back and equalise. And that meant the Hollywood owners had to endure a heart-stopping penalty shootout. Wrexham's goalkeeper Arthur Okonkwo was the hero as the underdogs won the shootout 4-3, the first time Wrexham have beaten a top division team for more than a quarter of a century. And that is all for now. Yasmin will be here with all the latest at 5:30. Until then, do have yourselves a great afternoon. Bye-bye.